Columbus, Georgia. This is your City Council. Mayor Teresa Tomlinson. City Manager Isaiah Hughley. Pops Barnes, District 1. Glenn Davis, District 2. Bruce Huff, District 3. Evelyn Turner Pugh, Mayor Pro Tem and District 4. Mike Baker, District 5. Gary Allen, District 6. Mimi Woodson, District 7. Walker Garrett, District 8. Judy Thomas, Post 9 at-large Counselor. Skip Henderson, Post 10 at-large Counselor. Tiny Washington, Clerk of Council. And City Attorney, Clifton Fay. Columbus, Georgia, this is your City Council.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the September 26th meeting of the Columbus City Council. We're so glad to have you with us. We have a bunch of special guests this evening and a full agenda, as we always do. But we're going to ask Pastor Seth Hahn to come up. He is with Grace Baptist Church, and he's going to get us started this evening with the invocation consistent with his faith tradition. And Pastor Hahn, we're so glad to have you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's pray. Dear Lord, we love you and we thank you so much for just the privilege to be here tonight to see and practice, Lord, something that we often take for granted, and that's the exercise of a government that's freely elected by its people. And I thank you for that. I thank you for the men and women of our armed forces, Lord, who have sacrificed of themselves that we might have this privilege and this freedom. Lord, I bring before you the activities of the night, and I pray that you would just bless in a special way. I pray that you'd grant wisdom to the men and women of our city council and our mayor. I pray, Lord, that you would give them wisdom as they make decisions. I think of James 1 verse 5, where it says, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, who giveth to all men liberally and upbraideth not. And I pray that you would just grant them wisdom as they make decisions. I pray for our city, Lord. It seems a time where we see a lot of violence and things taking place. I pray that you would be with us in the faith community, in our churches, that we would reach out to those who are in need, both with the love of God and the gospel of Jesus Christ. I pray that you'd be in our law enforcement as they seek to protect our citizens, grant them safety and wisdom. Lord, most importantly tonight, I thank you for your Son. I thank you for his sacrifice on Calvary. I thank you for his resurrection. And Lord, just the privilege once again of being here tonight and being a citizen of this city and our wonderful country. Lord, we love you and we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. Pastor Hahn, thank you so very much. He's here a good bit, actually, and we always talk about the fact that we need all the prayer we can get, and so we appreciate you coming out this evening to help us out. Now we have some folks well-versed in leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Matthews Elementary School is here, and we're going to ask them to come forward to the clerk's desk where we have a microphone, and they're going to assemble. And if you'll stand and prepare for them to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent job. And I want to make sure we get a chance to meet you, so tell us your name and how old you are.
I'm Maya, and I'm 10.
I'm Lauren, and I'm 10.
I'm Olivia, and I'm 10.
Trip Williams, age 10.
I'm Toby and Phoebe, and I'm 12.
I'm Skylar, and I'm 10.
I'm Sydney, and I'm 10.
I'm Elliot Holmes, and I'm 10.
I'm Noreen Robinson, and I'm 10.
I'm Curtis, and I'm 10.
And it's my understanding you all aren't just students at Matthews Elementary, you're part of the Patrol Guard, is that right? Tell me what's the title? It's Patrol Guard and Flag Team, is that right? What's the name of your group? Yes, sir.
Safety Patrol and Flag Team.
And what?
And Flag Team.
And Flag Team, fantastic. And you've got some folks here with you. I know you've got your counselor and some supportive parents. Why don't you all stand up and let us recognize you? All right. Thanks for coming out. Well, thank you to our Matthews Elementary School students. You did an excellent job, and hopefully you'll come back again soon and help us, okay? Thank you very much. Let's give them another round of applause, folks. And we actually have some other special guests here this evening. We have Stowers Elementary School. They have a leadership group that's here, led by John Hart, who we all know with WRBL, Channel 3, here locally. And of course, their principal, Debbie Parks, is here with them, as well as some very proud parents. And so I want to ask if those students from Stowers Elementary School, their principal, administrators, and parents all stand up. All right, thank you all for being here. Let's give them a round of applause. They're going to stay with us this evening to see how government works, so let's see how long they can stand it. But we'll try to keep it interesting for you guys. Thank you so much for being here. As you all know, the past couple of weeks, we've had the tax assessor's office come and present to us an update related to some of the changes that have been occurring related to our tax digest. We have our tax commissioner too, Lula Huff, here. Thank you for being here this evening, as well as our sheriff, which I think is going to be up maybe a little bit later in our agenda. But I want to turn it over to John Williams, who's with the tax assessor's office. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Mr. City Manager, ladies and gentlemen of council. I am John Williams, the Deputy Chief Appraiser, and this is nothing new for you all. A standard update on our appeals. So all these numbers are as of last night. We currently have 10,031 active appeals as of last night. That's 14.4% of the taxable real property accounts. The value in dispute, which we've covered several times, represents 3.24% of the taxable digest. Of the number of active appeals, we have reviewed 6,359. That's 61.9%. As of 5 minutes ago, I reran the numbers, but I couldn't get them in the presentation in time. We're up to 65% reviewed, just over actually 65.3%. Of the reviewed appeals, 3,672 remain to be reviewed. I'm sorry, of the active appeals, 3,672 remain to be reviewed. 3,938 of the active appeals have been recommended for reduction. And as of today, or actually this week, yesterday, 3,904 of those recommended for reduction have received what we call a 30-day notice. This is a new notice of assessment, which the taxpayer has 30 days to continue their appeal based on that notice or just let that expire. Of those 3,904 that received a 30-day letter, 716 of those have expired or timed out. To continue, there are 1,728 appeals recommended for no change. That's 27.2%. 37 of the appeals are designated for administrative review, and 656, or just over 10% of the active appeals, are designated for a division manager review. And as I've told you in the past, those usually come to me or one of our division managers for some form of complexity. And I believe that's it. As always, I'm open to your questions.
Great. Anything for Mr. Williams? We've got Counselor Garrett. Oh, excuse me, Counselor Huff.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Evening now. I guess we're getting close to that time. This is the last presentation update as far as you formally coming?
If you say so, sir, I will make it so. I might come again.
No,
not to my knowledge.
Oh, okay. That's what I wanted. I was going to recommend that at least you could update us every couple of weeks and at least come back once a month and let us know what's going on.
That works for me.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I think every 2 weeks, because what I'm concerned about is just trying to figure out what the totals are at the end. Yeah.
The total.
Yeah, I mean, we go up, we keep down to the 3 point whatever % at the bottom. And that top number keeps going up, so it means that I guess you're doing them a few at a time?
The number of reviewed, yes, sir, we average about 200 appeals reviewed every day. That value in dispute shouldn't change.
Okay.
That is the value that's disputed by those appeals, so it might fluctuate, but if you notice, if you looked at probably the last 2 weeks of that report, that number percentage-wise has not changed.
Okay. And is that total number still changing? The top
Every
number?
once in a while,
Okay.
there will be a minor fluctuation. Of course, now it represents active appeals, so every week when we time out or appeals expire, that number drops. So it's lower, it's by about 700 or 600 lower than what it has been at its highest point.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, we have Counselor Thomas.
Good evening, Mr.
Good
Williams.
evening.
One of the questions that I have been asked is for those people who have received back from the tax assessor's office a notice of the appeal, and they do not agree with that, they're going to the next step.
That's right.
How long does it take to get let me back up. Have any of those next steps started? Have they started going to the Board of Equalization hearings yet, or are we still?
We're still in that process. They've not been certified to the Board of Equalization, which would be the next step. So once they communicate to us in writing that they wish to continue their appeal to the BOE, the Board of Equalization, those will begin to be certified to the board secretary, the board administrator, and then she will take it from there and begin the process of getting those appointments scheduled and getting those boards on the agenda.
And when you say certified to the clerk for the Board of Equalization, is that just an administrative?
Yes.
Action?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And do you have any idea when those might start, when those hearings might start, or have they already started?
They have not started. I would like to think that they would begin towards the end of October. We have many, as you would imagine, and we don't know how many. But we're going to have a large amount of boards, of cases to be heard at the BOE. So we would like that to start as quickly as possible. However, we still have thousands of appeals to work through and send letters out to and get those letters back, et cetera. So I can't tell you exactly when those BOEs are going to start, but the end of October, beginning of November is what we're seeing right now.
Okay. That will be helpful, I think, to some of these folks who are wanting to appeal or, excuse me, who have appealed and just need to know
What's next?
What's next.
That's
and
right.
How quickly is that going to happen?
And I can appreciate
Because they
that.
want it to do tomorrow, you know. how
That's
that
right.
is.
I understand.
And as you are coming back to us with information, would you include that number for us? How many are going to have requested to go to the next level?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. City Manager?
Madam Mayor, I was just going to make sure I understand Councilor Huff. When you say every 2 weeks, that would be every business meeting, he would still come back and give a report? Every.
Wait, hold on a second, let me get you. There we go.
Yeah, you can bring him back to the regular council meetings to update, but I was saying if he could just, he's been giving us something at the end of every week.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah,
Okay.
if we could, at this point, I was saying maybe every 2 weeks, and then we'll get with you when you come back to the council meeting.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Okay. And also, I just wanted to follow up. There's been a couple of referrals during this process, as you all know, that have been following it. We ask for various information, and we try to get it back the next time around. 2 meetings ago, we had a pretty long discussion. We had some representatives here from Tyler Technologies, and we had a nice debate about what is a public meeting and so forth. And so we went back and looked at all of the minutes that we had where we had received updates from, I think it was like 2013, maybe 2014 forward to, of course, when all of this became a big issue this year in 2017. And we've put those up online so you guys can see the minutes. If you wanted to see the full blow-by-blow, once you get the date of the minutes from where we've posted them online, of course, you can always go. All of our council meetings are posted online, so you can go and find that meeting date and click on it, and it was always up front, or almost always up front like it is today, so you don't have to sit through hours of other things. And then at our last meeting, Councilor Davis had said that he wanted to go back even further, not so much on the public meeting aspect of it, but sort of where did the software idea come from? And he had thought maybe it was in my budget letter and so forth, and so we went back and pulled up a lot of stuff, and so we're going to add this to the website, and I'm just going to read off to you. It looks like the software came about as a recommendation in the July 2008 report of the internal auditor. John Redmond had done a report auditing, probably, I guess with council's authorization, the tax assessor's office for efficiency and so forth, and as a result, he has a thorough report, as he always does. Some of the things that he found were that there were some possibly systemic issues related to unassessed and unbilled commercial properties and residential properties that we needed to address. He thought that was exacerbated by some need for various staffing positions, and that recommended a succession plan in 2008. And then he also has a section in here in some detail of the fact that we need a new software system, that we're several versions behind and so forth, and makes that recommendation that we purchase the software and implement a strategy and plan for this assessment and so forth. And it also has a fairly lengthy PowerPoint that he presented to council, and he presented that on November 18th, 2008, and so those minutes will be updated too. There's some discussion and questions from councilors about that, so we'll update the website with that information so you all can see discussion about the software. And then, as you all may remember, we're about to go on another inner-city trip, and one of the things that we had discussed many years as a community, way back before my time, was doing something called CityServe audits to see if the various agencies of the city were not just audited from a financial standpoint, but were efficient. And so I proposed and council approved a CityServe audit. We got an independent team to come in, and one of the agencies that they audited was the tax assessor's office. And here's their report. So that was in October of 2003. That was reported out, and of course, it basically follows along, but in much more detail, some of the same findings that John found, that we're in desperate need of technology and software, lists all the reasons why. Some positions, transition plan, and so forth, that we're having issues with valuation management systems, and basically the system's just being overloaded. And so we'll upload that so you can read their analysis and assessment. And so that was another request for the software and some adjustments being made so that we can get our tax digest in order. One thing that was interesting, and you know, there's just so much you forget, but it actually is reflected in the minutes a little later on I'll talk about. But when I came into office in 2011, one of the things that now I recall was an issue, and it's mentioned actually in John's audit and again in the independent auditor's report, that there had been about, let me see what the quantity is here. I think it was about $30 million in value, not in taxes, but in value of commercial property had not been assessed for a very long period of time. And the reason was because they were really, really complicated deals. I mean, super complicated. And so one of the things we did was appoint a 3-person volunteer expert team that could just devote their time to going in and looking at those, quote, problem or complicated properties, and they were able to resolve it. We were able to get those properties back on the books and, of course, get their back taxes that they owed and wanted to pay. They wanted to pay, they just needed an assessment so they would know how much to pay. So we got those on the books. And so in July of 2000 and, well, actually it would have been, I guess, April of 2014, I propose a budget letter, and Councilor Davis is right. I make a request that we add John's position as a result of John Redmond's audit and also the CityServe audit, and that we purchase the software that John Redmond had suggested. And of course, that the tax commissioner office and the tax assessor's office had both requested. And also, then of course, that's listed in all the many requests of the budget letter from our different departments and offices. And so that'll be put online. And then there is the May 13th, 2014 Budget Review Committee discussion, where we talk a bit about the software and some of the issues with things not being assessed promptly and so forth. And so there is a lot of discussion going all the way back to 2008 about the software issues, the real problems we're having with assessments countywide for commercial and residential properties. And so we'll put that up. If you all want to see any more information, it'll be available for you. You can knock yourself out and give you plenty of bedtime reading material, but we want you to have it. It's been an issue, and we want you to see the whole progression. So I think that's it. If anybody else has any further referrals, we're happy to go digging back in the stacks. It's kind of amazing, actually, like I said, the things that you don't recall as sharply until you dig back in the files. But we do keep the records. The city does keep those things, and so we have them if you're interested. Again, we'll get that online. Mr. City Manager, if you and Forrest could work to get that all up online, that'd be great. With that, I think we appreciate your update. We appreciate the Board of Tax Assessor members being here. Thank you for coming. And it looks like there's no further comment at this time. Thank you. We do have one request to pull up an agenda item. We've got some special guests here. Oh, excuse me. Thank you. Thank you. We want to hear from our tax commissioner. She's here and wants to give us an update. I hear our digest has been approved. Excellent job, and she wants to tell us all about that.
I sure
Lula
do.
Huff.
Thank you so very much. I wanted you to be the first to know as the bills will hit the street. Well, they'll be mailed out on tomorrow. So I thought that would be very good news for you to hear. We've been shooting for October 1, and thanks to a very efficient, hard-working staff in the tax commissioner's office, and I have to compliment them because they've worked the last 2 weekends on Saturdays and Sundays to try to make this happen. And I have 3 of those very important people here with me today, and David Britt is our delinquent tax collector, and next to him is Max Patrick, who's over property taxes for us. And please stand up, Sharita. Sharita is our new accountant that's handling this for us. So thanks to them and their staff. We've really worked hard to do that. And with something coming out as big as this, I knew you would want to be the first to have your tax bills. Thank you so much. Okay. So we sort of surprised you and let you be the first ones there so that you can actually talk to your constituents and answer questions concerning what it looks like, what it is, because it does have the appearance to be a little bit different than what it was in the past. One of the things about it is that in the past you've gotten a bill just in appearance that is about 1/3 the size of what you just received. And what you just received is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. The top portion of it is perforated, if you'll note. So what you'll get in the mail is that entire sheet of paper, but it is perforated so that you will now tear off the top portion of that and put it in the enclosed envelope that you have there and return that to us. This bill is unique for us for this year because we only have one installment. Normally, we would have 2 installments and you would receive 2 mail-outs from the office. However, this year, because of the notices that have gone out for the appraisers, it pushed the date out and we only have one payment date. So all taxes are due on December 1. They are delinquent on December 2nd. So interest will start applying at that point in time. You are welcome as a citizen to pay your taxes anytime before that. And council members, I would like for you to know that if you would like to write us a personal check here, I have our accountant here who will be glad to take those for you, and we'll make sure that it's properly deposited so that we can get you some money back in your coffers to start running the business. I'm sure you could keep all the city's lights on with that. Along that same line, I'd like to just share something with you about that bill that you have before you. All of the basic information that you had before is on that bill. Nothing's changed. Everything is there. What I want to point out in particular, in most cases, I want to say, with everyone sitting on the council, you all have your homestead exemption. And you can tell that on your bill by looking over under the exemption column, and you'll see an H1 right there, okay? And so that's saying that you've applied for your homestead, your values are frozen, and you are getting it. So that's proof that you're getting it. Furthermore, if you look where it says total state fair market value on there, that amount and the title of it is different from the column that's right underneath it that says local fair market value. For this particular individual, the state fair market value today, let me back up. The assessed value for the state is $223,190. However, the local frozen value is $136,000. That's another check and balance. Those two numbers are not the same, okay? If they were the same, then you probably don't have an H1 over there under the exemption column. All right, so that's the difference on those two. If you look at the third column over, you've got one column that says local fair market value. The net 40% is 40% of that local value, the $136,000. The next number is that, thank you, $13,500. Okay, that's your exemption. And then the next number, just subtracting it out. And it makes it easy now the way it's designed because you can come straight across and you can take that taxable value now. You took the $13,500 from the $54,400. You ended up with a taxable value of $40,900 multiplied times the millage rate. There's your gross tax. Now we bag off. We always talk about the sales tax rollback. That's the sales tax rollback for your particular piece of property there that's being subtracted from your taxes. And then you see the school bond and school operating. You'll note that the county bond, there's no number there because there isn't one, okay? And so it comes straight across. There's no exemption there for it. And then there's school operating. It gets the $13,500. You don't get the exemption on the county bond itself, only on M&O. It comes straight across. You come down to the totals line. You've got your total millage rate there for District 1. You want to point to District 1 up there because you can see that on your sheet. Okay, there's your Urban District 1. It comes across. You've got the gross amount of taxes minus your sales tax rollback. Your net taxes is $1,689.13. At a later point in time, if you had interest or penalties and had not paid it, then it would appear there. If this individual had previous taxes that were due and had not paid them, then you'll note on there that it would say back taxes, and there would be an amount there. So that's a basic homestead tax return that most individuals will get from us. What I think would be of interest to you is to tell you a little bit about those individuals whose property values are under appeal. What are you going to see? Because when we mail them out on tomorrow, all 70,000 of them are going out. For taxpayers who are not under appeal, and also for taxpayers that are under appeal. The difference will be, one, if you'll point to that section right underneath total due, right in that section on their bills when they get them, it will say appealed dash temporary bill. So everyone who has property,
Bill.
temporary bill, okay, it will say appealed, and then it will say dash temporary bill. And that indicates that this is a bill that is under appeal, okay? And at the point of time when we cut off and we started running them, it was under appeal, okay? Now, the other thing it will also show is that in that column where it says local fair market value, the amount that will appear in that particular column will be the lower of the 2016 fair market value of the property, or 85% of the 2017 property value, whichever one is lower. That's the amount that will appear in that field. And then the rest of the calculations will follow the same format that I mentioned for anyone else's tax return, okay? The next thing that they probably want to know is that, okay, mine is under appeal. Am I going to get charged interest or penalties? No, you won't, as long as you are under appeal. Once it's settled, then you will either get a refund based on that settlement amount, or you'll end up owing the county taxes, and you'll pay that amount due. At that point in time, we will send you another bill, and you have 60 days in which to pay that bill. And if it's not paid within that period of time, then it could possibly accumulate and earn interest and possibility of a penalty. Are there any questions that you would like to ask?
Yeah, we've got a few questions once I get my thing up here running again. Commissioner Huff, thank you so very much. It's been yeoman's work, we know, and we appreciate it. Not just our tax assessor's office, but our tax commissioner's office has been working full steam ahead. And a lot of times people don't, you know, they're constantly confusing the two.
Right.
Right. And we get that up here sometimes, get them backwards. But we appreciate what you do and what all of you all have done to help us make it to this point. And you're absolutely right. If anybody wants to pay their taxes early, y'all just knock yourself
We'll
out
take it.
because we could use it this year in particular.
We'll pass the basket.
Yeah, that's right. With that, we'll, looks like we're up and running here. We've got Counselor Thomas.
Ms. Huff, if people have questions about this, whom should they call?
Okay, that's a very good question, especially as a lead-in to what the mayor just said. I need to emphasize, and John would totally agree with me, if it's an appraisal question, the value of the property, then contact the tax assessor's office, okay? The authority on the values of the property lie within the tax assessor's office, and we are two distinct offices and operate under different laws of the state of Georgia. We work together as departments, but we don't interact outside of that. So that when it comes to tax questions that pertain to the appraisal values of land and buildings, please contact John in the tax assessor's office, or Betty Middleton, or the Board of Tax Assessors. Our function is to bill and collect taxes, okay? And when we go to the state of Georgia with that digest, that's what we're asking for, is permission from the state of Georgia, and I cannot ever bill without having that. Once we receive that, September 15th, I think it was, we are able to now start processing those bills to make them available. If they have any questions about anything that pertains to that bill, okay, all documents that have come to them prior to this time, when it said tax assessment, sometimes people get it confused because they see the word tax and that they equate that with my office. But prior to this point in time, the communication has not been coming from the tax commissioner's office. Okay. The one that's coming out and will be mailed on tomorrow, which should hit the streets, I'm going to say Friday or Saturday, will be coming from the tax commissioner's office, and that is officially a tax bill. So that if you have any questions about that tax bill, you can contact us in the tax commissioner's office. There is a phone number on there. There is a website on there that you can contact us at to ask any questions. However, if you want to talk about the value of that land or that building sitting on the property, then we would refer you to the tax assessor's office. Now, John and I have both talked about going on CCG TV and doing some public service announcements and explanations of our individual departments and areas. And I probably feel very strongly that a lot of the questions that individuals will probably have will be answered. I think, John, you're going on, where did John? Thursday. I thought he was here, I'm sorry. I think, David, is it Thursday? Okay. He's at least being televised Thursday to start running some information to talk about the appeal process and to answer additional questions that people might have. And that will be ongoing and running, and I will then follow up and do the same thing.
The other question that I have is if your taxes are typically paid by an escrow company, will the taxpayer get this bill as well as the mortgage company?
Yes, the mortgage companies have already been made aware of this, of what's happening. They all know that the bills are coming out October 1, and they'll get them slightly earlier as a result of this. They get them on a tape, so they're fully aware, and the taxpayer gets a notice on here also.
So for that part of the situation this year, there's no
change. No, there's no change. We send them a tape, and they take care of it. And you brought up a good point, is that you're getting one bill this time. Make sure you hold on to the bottom half of that sheet. When you tear that off, all of the information that you're going to need to file your tax return in 2018 for 2017, to deduct that on your taxes. We always get questions later, so don't tear it off. Send us your property tax money with the upper portion as a voucher, and then throw away the bottom portion. Councilor Baker, you know about that, right? So please hold on to that portion of it, because it has the amount that you're paying for taxes.
And one last thing, Ms. Huff, I do want to thank you and those people who were in your department, working in your department, who have given up a couple of weekends to make sure that all of this goes out so that we can collect the tax that we need to run the city, as well as making sure that it's as simple as can be. And I appreciate all you've done, and I know my fellow councilors do too, all that you and the members of the department of your department have done to make sure that this worked well. I know that you have some of your supervisors here, and please let those folks know how much we appreciate their work and their long weekend hours.
It means a lot coming from you, so we appreciate that, and thank you.
Thank you.
And we have Counselor Huff.
Good evening, how are you?
Blessed, thank you.
I wanted to echo what Councilor Thomas just said. I physically came out to the site on a Sunday afternoon, and I don't know how you all value your weekends, but they were here, I think from 5 in the morning to 7 in the evening. And if you ever wanted to see something like the old sweatshops from the movies,
And she's not running a sweatshop.
they were in an air-conditioned building, very well supervised, but they had stacks and stacks of property tax bills. And they were sitting there manually placing those in envelopes to go out. And it's just the most amazing process I've seen in the millennial times, because we're talking 70, 73,000, and they were keeping track of what they were doing. And they were down, I think when I got there, they had probably another 15 or so thousand to go, and they were doing it with a smile. They ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner here. And I just want to echo one more time about that and thank all of the employees. You had your son with you, which was just, what's that? Oh, no, that's not what I'm saying. It's not the fact that I don't want you to worry about a child being on the premises. I want to make the point that in trying to get the job done, that your son was able to come for a little while and be with Daddy and see why Daddy had to leave home and be gone so long. And he was very well behaved and did not move any further than he had to go. So don't take it down. Nobody's trying to put you on the spotlight about your child. I thought he was just so well behaved. And in all that we do up here, over the years, we've had to leave our kids, and sometimes we've had to take them with us. But it's good for our children to see what we do and while we're not at home. Okay? But thank you so very much, and I look forward to questions, and I know to direct the actual statement to you and any other questions back to the Tax Assessor's Office. Thank you.
All right, great. Looks like that's it.
Okay, can I just happen to have two inserts that I'd like to point out, because oftentimes you have asked, how are we communicating to the public to let them know what's going on? And there are two different inserts that are going out. There's a brightly colored one like this that's reminding people that this is the only property tax bill that you're going to get this year, that your taxes are due December 1. They're going to be late December the 2nd. It does explain some of the departments on the back of it. If you get the blue one, it stands out very big that this is a temporary tax bill, okay? So it's another way of letting the citizens know that, okay, this is my temporary bill. I'm going to get another one, so that this one is based on the 85%, okay, for 2017 or 2016's value, whichever is lower, okay? Oh, I'm sorry, okay. So thank you very much. You will get an envelope this year, and next year when we go back to the two-installment system, which I assume we probably will, then you'll probably see a different bill then. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Whew. All right, congratulations, folks, on all your very hard work and the hours and hours and hours of reporting to the community about this. I think it's helped the process. So we'll continue to move on and answer questions as they come up. With that, I've been asked if we could call up the retiree health insurance plan. It shouldn't take but just a minute, so if you all would come forward, and that'll help us clear out the room a little bit. And Retha, did you have a presentation you wanted to make, or is it theirs? Okay. Okay, Mr. City Manager?
Madam Mayor, These are members of the Retiree Benefits Committee, and they have been meeting, and we are requesting approval for the renewal of the Medicare-eligible health care plan benefits and the United Healthcare Medicare Advantage plan. They had two vendors that they were taking a look at, and because of the strong renewal submitted by United Healthcare and their excellent customer service and plan offerings, this committee was unanimous in their decision to remain with United Healthcare.
Got a motion and second for approval. Is there any discussion on this item? Okay, let me,
I think he wants to finish.
did you want to finish?
Well, I can do it after you're done. I just want those
Go
who are
ahead.
not
No,
present.
go ahead, before people vote.
But for the post-65 retiree health insurance costs will increase by 3.9% in 2018. The retiree's monthly rate will be $145.50 a month for city-subsidized retiree group hired prior to July 1, 2001, and $194 for the unsubsidized retiree group hired after July 1, 2001. And so the out-of-pocket maximum of $1,500 annually remains the same. And so they are asking for council's approval tonight. And there's been a motion and a second, so I just wanted to make sure that was heard by all that's maybe listening by television.
Sure. And would you all like to add anything before council votes? We appreciate you here. At the very least, introduce yourselves and say hello.
I'm the committee chair, Rhonda Davis.
Go ahead, Jack. I'm Jack Kinsman, Vice President, Retired City Employees.
I'm Mr. Radcliffe, and I'm just one of the ones that make decisions.
Good evening. I'm Larry Campbell. I'm the president of the Retirees Association and a member of this committee, and we appreciate your efforts on our behalf.
All right. It doesn't look like we have anything further, so I'll cue this for voting. And it passes. Thank you all, and thank you for your hard work. You make it a lot easier for us, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, we do have minutes from August 22nd and September 12th council meetings. Also, we have an August 29th, 2017 council meeting and work session. We've got a motion and second that they be received. Lindsay, did you get the second? Okay. All those in favor, please state aye. Okay, and we will move now into the city attorney's agenda. Mr. Fay.
All right, thank you, Mayor. First item up is the second reading of the Gentian Boulevard rezoning. We are going to let people be heard if there's anybody here that wants to speak because of the change in meeting hurricane last time. Is there anybody that wants to be heard on the Gentian rezoning 3716 Gentian Boulevard going to general commercial? Any questions? The sponsors are here. Petitioners are here.
Okay, we've got a motion and second for approval, and there's no discussion to this item. So it is queued for your electronic voting. And it passes. Thank you all.
Thank you all for being here. Mr. Flowers and Gillum, that has passed. Next item, Mayor, I think we want to delay, but Councilor Garrett would like to make an announcement on that.
Sure. We've got Councilor Garrett.
Sure. This is regarding the ordinance I'd proposed that would basically kind of combine the city permit and the rabies vaccination. I've decided to go ahead and pull this. I think y'all have seen the same feedback I've gotten from the veterinarians and from nonprofits. I just wanted the public to know because, I thought this was something that could be a positive, but they brought some very legitimate concerns about folks maybe not coming in for rabies vaccinations if they have to pay the city permit. And I think there's some things we can do on our end without an ordinance as far as making the city permit automated and more efficient, which would basically accomplish the same purpose. So at this time, I'm pulling it, but if you have any input from your constituents who are in the veterinary or nonprofit society, just let me know, because we're going to try and put something together that would be beneficial for all.
All right, with no objection from council, we'll withdraw that item and bring it back at a later date. Mayor, the next three items I'll call together. These are resolutions authorizing the mayor to sign probation services contracts for Superior Court, Municipal Court, and Recorder's Court. They've been signed by all of the judges for the three courts and approved by them, and they're ready for council action.
Okay, we've got a motion and second for approval. Is there any discussion on this item? Is this, Mr. City Attorney, did you want all three called or one at a time?
However you want to do it,
Okay,
Mayor.
what was the motion to? To all three? Okay, so we had a motion and second to approve all three resolutions, and I see no discussion. The items are queued for your voting. Okay, and they pass.
All right, all those pass. We need a short executive session on litigation, Mayor, time permitting. That's all we have.
Okay, thank you. All right, we will move into our public agenda. We have Ms. Susan Gallagher here. She's representing New Horizons Behavioral Health and would like to speak to us about National Disability Employment Awareness Month. Hello.
Hi, Susan Gallagher, New Horizons Behavioral Health, 1555 16th Avenue, Columbus, Georgia. And I just wanted to make you aware of some things that are happening so you can make your constituents aware. We're just wrapping up National Recovery Month. September is National Recovery Month. Prevention works, treatment is effective, and people do recover from both mental illness and addictive disease. And now we're getting ready to roll into October. And October is a really busy month with a lot of awareness campaigns. Now, I'm sure y'all are aware of Think Pink, Breast Cancer Awareness, month of October. But October is also Think Orange, National Bullying Prevention Month, Down Syndrome Awareness Month, Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, Domestic Violence Awareness Month, that color's purple, National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and that's what I want to mention to y'all today. October also has Red Ribbon Week, which is alcohol and drug prevention in our schools for drug and alcohol prevention for children in our schools, and that's usually the third or fourth week in October. This year it's October 23rd through 31st. And then World Mental Health Day is October 10th. That's a lot going on in 1 month, and when you're working public relations and community awareness, that's a lot of things to keep up with. But I wanted you to know too that all of these are interrelated with mental illness and addiction. When we talk about bullying prevention, many of our children in schools that are bullied are experiencing a mental illness, and they're picked on by their peers. Many of our children in schools are not treated for a mental illness. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for children in suicide, and bullying leads to a lot of those suicides. So you can see how some of these things tie in with our children's mental health. Breast cancer awareness. Individuals with mental illness or addictive disease are likely to have a lifespan 20 years less than the regular population. So if the normal lifespan for a female is 78 years old, somebody with mental illness, it's 58 years old. And when you're dealing with a chronic mental illness, and all of a sudden now you've got a chronic disease like cancer, you might not even know the signs and symptoms and not even start getting treatment until you're at a stage where recovery from the illness is much harder to achieve. Down syndrome awareness. I'm sure everyone knows that New Horizons provides intellectual and developmental disability services all the way from Harris County down to Clay County, and we're real proud of the programs that we offer, which include employment services, residential services, and day services for individuals. Suicide prevention awareness. I mentioned the fact about children and suicide as the second leading cause of death for children in the state of Georgia. But suicide affects everybody, every family, and it's your mental health that you need to think about when you're thinking about suicide, suicide awareness. Domestic violence awareness. Most instances of domestic violence, and I'm sure the sheriff's office and the police office would tell you that those cases of domestic violence usually involve drugs, alcohol, and there's probably some type of a mental health problem going on in the family. And children that experience or see domestic violence are traumatized. And then they themselves may turn around and bully at school because of what's going on at home. So you see, all of these things are kind of interrelated here. Red Ribbon Week, again, is October 23rd through 31st, and that's when we want to just keep telling our kids, say no to drugs. Your future is key, and saying no to drugs is the key to that future. And World Mental Health Day is October 10th, but I'm trying to get y'all to think of mental health as just part of your regular overall health and not separate it from mental health and physical health. But getting over to the National Disability Employment Awareness Month, there are many employers in our community who hire disabled individuals. New Horizons has an independent supported employment program for individuals with mental health. We work with them to get their skills up, their resumes up, work with them on job coaching, being there at the job on time, how to handle workplace conflict and resolution. We also have a supported employment program for our individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And this year, for the first time, we're going to recognize our partners in employment in Muskogee County with a breakfast on October 26th at the Columbus Country Club at 8 in the morning. And we would like to invite anybody with a small business, anybody that is the human resources director of a large business, to come to this event, find out what our employment services are like at New Horizons. We're going to have both of our programs, the program directors speaking, and we'd like to encourage you to we would like to encourage you to hire people with different abilities, because different abilities are the key to innovation at the workplace. And if you are a small business owner, an HR director, you can contact me at 706-596-5517 and find out how to get on the invitation list to this event. This is the first time we're doing it. We want to expand the number of employers that we have in the community. We appreciate the employers that we do have. Some of them are very loyal and have been with us since 1994 when we started the program. And we just want to get more employment opportunities for our folks with different abilities out there. So thank you again. As you can see, October, very busy month, a lot of awareness events going on. New Horizons is also hosting an event on October 19th for women with mental illness. It's a breast cancer awareness education training at the Mildred Terry Library. Call me again if you'd like to get invited to that. And again, women with mental illness have a life expectancy that's 20 years less than the general population. And if you're at a school and you would like some materials about bullying and say no to drugs for Red Ribbon Week, give me a call, because I have some packets for the children that I'd love to give to schools to pass out. It's mainly for 5th and 6th graders, but would like to get that in their hands. It's not doing any good sitting in my office. My number is 706-596-5517, and our website is www.nhbh.org. Thank you very much.
Thank you
I probably
so much.
talked really fast.
No, you're good. You're good. You made it on time. So that's
But
great.
thank you for the time.
Thank you. Appreciate all you do. All right, next we have Mr. Jackson Turner, who'd like to speak to us about property taxes and Riverwalk. If you would, just state your name and address.
Ready?
Yes.
Okay. Looks like the crisis is about over with. That appears to be the case. Everybody's real happy. The taxes are under control now. I'd like to say that, just because this is dying down doesn't mean we should forget that it happened. I contend that somebody needs to be held accountable for this still. I think that Muskogee County School District is having to borrow, $50 million as a result of this. Is that correct, somebody? Or it's going to come with interest, okay? I think they had to do a tax anticipation loan of $50 million, and I'm not sure how long that's going to be, but, that's money, and people had to work weekends, and that's money as well. And I think that we should, it shouldn't just be, wow, we're glad this is over with, it's under control, let's just go on our merry way. I think we all need to back up and say, how much did this cost us? How much did it cost the city? It wasn't free. People worked, people paid interest, and it shouldn't just be completely swept away. Something about the contractual requirements for public meetings. I'm not sure if they were ever met or not. I've read in the newspaper, I have this article here. I'd certainly like to have been able to participate in those public meetings that preceded this rollout. Somewhere it said in the newspaper that it was worked on and tested at every phase for 2 solid years. And I say, if it was worked on and tested for 2 solid years, why did I get a 3,020% increase? Okay? With 2 years of implementing testing, you'd think that something like that would have been caught, and it happened more than once to more than one person. Curious about why they're mailing out these assessments, these tax bills tomorrow, if we're not going to be paying them until December, if this is if there's a law related to this. I know we've missed our October already. If there's so many appeals going on, why are we going to rush these out the door now and not correct some of these tax issues before we send the bills out? It just seems like we're generating more labor. I'm not sure if there's a reason behind that. Back to the side-by-side testing of the data there again. We were told it was tested. At one point, we were told that it was not able to be compared side-by-side. Then we were given side-by-side comparisons, which I found a little, the two things oppose one another. And I really am curious, how are they calculating the values? How are we calculating the values? I still need to know. I'd like to know how we're coming to these. The reason I ask this is because in the field I'm in as a real estate broker, first thing everybody does is run to the MLS and look for comparables. MLS is nothing but retail sales, okay? MLS represents retail sales. It does not represent good deals that you can get, and it skews values to a higher number because it's only comparing retail sales. What are they using for comparisons? It'd be nice to know how this is being compared. Are we using only MLS type data, or are we using something else? It'd be nice to know that. And that's pretty much it. So those are just a bunch of questions if you want to go back. I'm just curious about some things. What happened to the public meetings? How much does this cost the city? Are we going to go back and look at this and see if something needs to be done about it? That takes care of that piece. Now comes the Riverwalk. All right, Riverwalk. It seems like a curious entity to me, right? Riverwalk is a park. Let's all face it, it's a park. People walk up and down the Riverwalk. It's a park, okay? But a story ran in the Ledger-Enquirer a while back about a part of the Riverwalk was washed away, and it was going to be $1.1 million to make this repair. And the Columbus Waterworks had to close the Riverwalk. And my first question is, how do they have the authority to close the Riverwalk? Where did the Waterworks get the authority to close what is essentially a park? And what I found out is the Waterworks owns the Riverwalk. And I found that to be just a little bit odd that the Columbus Waterworks owns the Riverwalk. And at least that's what I'm hearing. I did go to Washington, D.C. and got an incredible story about how that came to pass, and I'd like to share that at some point in the future. I don't want to do it today. I would say that if we are being taxed through our water bills to maintain the Riverwalk, it seems like something is wrong. If every time they have $1 million washout, Is that the first 5 or the second 5?
That's the first 5. Mm-hmm.
If every time they have $1 million washout, the money's going to come out of our water bills, it seems like that's just essentially a tax. And where does the waterworks get the authority to tax the public? And I would like to for somebody to explain to me how essentially a utility company became an alternate Parks and Rec and now taxes us through our water bills to do maintenance and repairs on the Riverwalk. And that's it. I'll be back to talk about this one again, but I really need to,
Sure.
I'd like to hear some stories about this.
Okay, all right, thank you, Mr. Jackson, we appreciate it. We'll see what we can do to answer those questions. Let's, the Riverwalk is a $95 million investment we paid with through SPLOST or local option sales. It must have been SPLOST. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sitting here looking at you, and you're trying to talk. Go ahead, Mr. City Manager, yes. Okay, I'm trying so hard. There you go.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Riverwalk was a special purpose local option sales tax project. It was put on the ballot and, of course, approved by the voters. The purpose of the Riverwalk, well, it was a combined sewer overflow project, and instead of just going down there and taking care of our combined sewer overflow issue, the waterworks, they decided to be creative and innovative, and they put the Riverwalk on top of the pipes or the combined sewer overflow to resolve our issue, and spent approximately $95 million on that project. Now, a portion of the Riverwalk belongs to the waterworks, and I believe it's the portion down closest to and near Oxbow Meadows. And the other portion of the Riverwalk obviously is city and is maintained by either Parks and Rec or Public Works. But the Riverwalk is not owned in its entirety by the Columbus Water Works. It was a partnership, and we worked together on it. They handle a portion of it, and the city handles a portion. And so that's, in short, the deal on the Riverwalk.
Yeah, and then we do maintain the day-to-day. They maintain the pipes. We sweep it, clean it, paint it, get up the graffiti, that type of thing.
That's correct, but that portion that belongs to them, if there are major maintenance issues, those are handled by the Columbus Water Works. And, of course, every 5 years they come to before this council and present their water rate adjustments for sewer and maintenance. There's a public hearing, it goes through a process, and their money comes through that process.
Mm-hmm, right. And any public property can be closed, like streets. We will have on the clerk's agenda today, there'll be 3 or 4 streets will be closed. Cars will not be allowed to pass for parties, events, festivals, whatever it might be, as long as you, a private citizen, can get the right to close a public way. So certainly the city could close for repair anything. Waterworks, as a governmental partner, can seek to close something to do repairs and that type of thing. So.
Exactly, and they don't just casually close the Riverwalk. It's for public health and public safety reasons, obviously, and that was indeed a public safety, public health concern, and the right thing to do was to close it and handle that public safety, public health concern, and that's what they did.
Actually, your time's concluded, but if you'd like to just make a quick remark. What we don't want is, what we try not to do, Mr. Turner, is the back and forth, that kind of thing. Yep.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say is that you think about, in my case, having additional charges on a water bill to maintain a park might be okay because it's not a big deal. However, to somebody that's having to make a decision between paying their water bill and getting their blood pressure medicine, being charged an additional fee on their water bill to fix a $1.1 million washout just seems a little wrong, okay?
Well, and Madam Mayor, I don't want to get into a back and forth, but remember, it's a combined sewer overflow correction, which is what you want for public safety and public health. And when the waterworks do their component, they are taking care of that public safety and public health concern. You want to separate the two. And one of the problems upstream in Atlanta that they kept getting fined for over and over again is that they did not take care of their combined sewer overflow issue. Columbus stepped up, the Columbus Water Works, and was the first in Georgia to correct that problem through the support of the citizens, through that special purpose local option sales tax. That's why we were able to do it, and they continue to maintain, do the maintenance on that project to ensure that it's doing what it's supposed to do. They do that today.
Okay, and I know you said you're coming back, Mr. Turner, and that's great, but the city attorney wanted to add a bit. Yes, sir.
Well, just one more comment on the 60 days before the taxes are due. The bills have to be out for a period of 60 days under state law before the tax commissioner can collect. So
that's the need for the
that's
timing.
why.
Yeah.
And that's why October 1, December 1.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming. Next, we have Ms. Katie Howard, who's representing the River Valley Area Agency on Aging. Hello. So glad you're here. She's here to talk about a health insurance program for seniors.
Good evening. My name is Katie Howard. I'm with the River Valley Regional Commission Area Agency on Aging, and Pops Barnes had asked me to come and speak to y'all about the State Health Insurance and Assistance Program. Locally, we know it as Georgia Cares, but this is a national program that provides information and assistance to anyone who's eligible and receiving Medicare benefits. As some of y'all may know, open enrollment starts in October and ends the first week in December. And during that time, a lot of people are bombarded with a lot of information. I haven't hit that golden age yet, but when I do, I expect to have my mailbox full. And it's a little overwhelming. If you get all that information, it's confusing. And we provide free, unbiased information to people and assistance in helping them evaluate what plan they want to get, the one that will provide them with the best coverage. So maybe some of the choices they make will be better for their health and for their finances. This is a program that's been around for a while. Another thing that we do is we work on fraud prevention. I've been told that one of the biggest areas of fraud is not your identity, stealing your Social Security number, it's stealing your Medicare number, because it's a much more lucrative industry than stealing your Social Security number. I was shocked at that. But Medicare is a huge business. It's multi-millions of dollars. So we work on fraud prevention. When you get a bill and that bill makes no sense to you, why would I have to pay this? I didn't think I had to pay this much. Why do I have that? Then we'll help you go over the bill and find out why this happened. We also provide a lot of educational programs to civic groups, church groups, anybody that will invite us will come and speak. And I just wanted to let y'all know this is what we do, and we're available. I've got brochures for anybody who's interested. The number that you call is 1-866-552-4464, option 4. And also, if you have any questions about services for seniors or persons with disabilities, please call our Aging and Disability Resource Connection. That's 706-256-2900. We want to be your resource. If you've got a question, call us. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Give those numbers again.
Sure. Well, I've got the brochures for Georgia Cares, but the Georgia Cares number is 1-866-552-4464, and it's option 4. And then for our Aging and Disability Resource Connection, that's 706-256-2900. And we'll be happy to bring more brochures, flyers, give talks anytime y'all want. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Howard. Next up, we have Ms. Esther Ratcliffe, Public Works.
Esther.
You're up. No, 2 others canceled.
Oh, okay. My name is Esther Radcliffe. My address is 2238 Devonshire Drive, and I'm here, mayor, councilors, and city manager and city attorney, to let you know that as a retired employee of the city, I also care about our employees and our public works. We had a tree fall on our house when the storm came through. And all I've got to say is that I'm not here to praise Pat Beigler, I'm not here to praise the mayor, and I am not here to praise the council, but that Public Works Department, the men and women that came over to our house, cleared off that tree. There was only 2 guys that cleared the whole tree off the house. I mean, I stood out there the whole time from 8 o'clock in the morning till 1 o'clock in the afternoon watching them clear that tree. They worked constantly, they worked hard, they were kind, they were diligent, they were very careful in what they did. They had somebody to direct them on how to cut that tree and where to cut it to get the limbs off that roof. They had a chipper there, they put it in the chipper would of course just shred that thing up, but we had a 57-year-old oak that fell on the front of our house. So I wanted to let you know that I have some concerns that I was very worried about. We have these, first of all, I wanted to let you know that these workers are the unsung heroes of this city. I know our military are dear to our heart, but I want to let you know, if you have ever seen these guys work, they did not stop. They even raked my yard and they blew off the driveway. I never knew they did that. They came and got the stump. You never even knew the stump was even there. And I wanted to let you know also that they're the very backbone that we rely on in times of bad weather and in terrible road conditions. And we need to stop sometimes and just say thank you to these folks and let them know how very, very much we appreciate what they've done for us. It's just one of those things that we probably never think of because it's an automatic thing when we see them out there working. But we really, really, really need to stop and just say thank you for what you do for keeping this city running. Because without them, we would not be able to do what we do. And so my biggest concerns were the safety of these gentlemen. And I'm sure there are women here that do some things too. Men cutting limbs on electric lines, I was really concerned about that. There's not enough equipment such as back braces for when they are lifting heavy things such as big logs or anything like that. And they need rubber boots for bad weather. I noticed that they seem to not have enough rubber boots. And also one of the things I wanted was the person using the chipper. When he would put those big logs in that chipper, you know, there is absolutely no protection for this guy if that thing decides to kick back. I mean, he could be dead in a minute. I mean, that's a dangerous job. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but they just are everywhere when you're chipping. But I stood out there and I watched these guys just work constantly. We are the second largest city in the state, and we can't even supply our employees with the proper equipment, much less a raise. Here comes the worst part, guys. You know it's coming. When all the taxes are collected from our property tax, such as our taxes going up, and I know there will be some excess money somewhere, the least you can do is I recommend to give our city and the retired employees a decent raise. Thank you.
Ms. Esther Radcliffe, thank you for coming. I had the time and effort of being in the dark back in April for about 45 hours, and I got a chance to watch them work like you did. I had a tree from a neighbor's yard that fall in my yard and on the power lines and take all of the power out. And it was amazing to watch everybody work into the night because it was just not my house. It was all over the neighborhood and surrounding neighborhoods. And they worked until they couldn't see anymore. And they went home, slept a few hours, and they were back out on the streets about 7:30 the next morning. And they worked all day. And they coordinated with Georgia Power and the other power companies in town to make sure that we were back up and running. So it was amazing that they could put a time on it and said, we're not sure, we can't tell you 3 o'clock, but we can tell you that you'll have lights on before we stop working tonight. And it's an amazing process. So thank you for bringing it to the city's attention. And like I said, if you ever get a chance to watch them work, they come in like it's just a routine football game with a bunch of guys having fun. Yep, they don't play. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Huff. City Manager.
Mayor Pro Tem, I just wanted to thank Ms. Ratcliffe for her remarks, and Councilor Huff, and all of the recognition that has been given to employees by members around this table over the last few weeks. We do have dedicated, committed employees in Public Works, and I just wanted to make sure that Ms. Ratcliffe and all of those watching by television know that our employees don't go in and use chainsaws and deal with trees until after Georgia Power has killed the power on those lands. So if you ever see them cutting on a tree, it's after Georgia Power has killed the land, killed the power. And they are trained. They have the equipment that they need, and if they don't, we need to know about it. The director needs to know, and certainly the city manager's office needs to know. But we're going to make sure they have the resources to do their jobs and take care of the citizens, as was demonstrated in your case. So thank you for your remarks.
Thank you. Are there any more comments? Our next presenter is Mr. City Attorney. Did you have something you want to say?
No,
Okay.
thank you.
Our next presenter is Dr. Stephen Leitcher, juvenile diabetes. I haven't seen him. Okay, that's the end of our public agenda. Now we'll go to, I think it's the city manager's agenda. I'm trying to work this with the mayor's thing. Trying to get this to move. Okay. Thank you. Okay, next we have the city manager's agenda.
Okay. Is it my agenda? Okay, I'm sorry. I know that we've got a big group here, and I don't see them. I wanted to make sure. Yeah. The second item on my agenda, and we will come back to them. Yeah. On my agenda, we've handled number one on my agenda. The second item on my agenda, Madam Mayor and Council, is allocation of community development block grant funding to the Columbus Area Habitat for Humanity. It's an award of $149,829 to administer the Continuing Hope program to assist the elderly disabled homeowners with repairs to their homes, repairs such as the roofs and HVAC systems, plumbing, and electrical. It's $10,000 per home, and we anticipate being able to help 13 elderly disabled homeowners with this program.
We've got a motion and second for approval. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, we will cue it for voting. Hold on a second, it's moving slow. There we go. And it passes, I think. Hold on a second. Do we have everybody? Yeah, all right, good.
Next is another CDBG allocation, Mayor and Council, and this award goes to Access 2 Independence, and it's an $80,000 award to assist disabled persons with accessibility modifications to their homes. Things such as installing ramps and grab bars and widening doorways, modifying showers, things of that nature. It's $5,000 per home, and we anticipate helping approximately 14 disabled persons with this program.
Got a motion and second for approval. There's no discussion related to this item, so we'll cue it for voting. It passes. Well, somebody is not pushing their button hard enough. There we go. We got it. All right.
And
got it now.
the third allocation of CDBG funding is for training innovations, and it's $25,000 to administer a Section 3 employment training program. And this program will provide training and employment opportunities to by working with low-income residents and connecting them with local contractors to assist them with finding jobs.
We've got a motion and second for approval. Seeing no discussion, the item is queued for voting. And it passes.
And Madam Mayor, on those awards with CDBG funding, I really like to thank Laura Johnson, our Community Reinvestment Director, for her leadership and her skills in the CDBG HUD program. It's been a few years since we've been able to do things like this for elderly and disabled people and low-income persons in our community using those dollars, and we're getting back to doing many of the kinds of things we were able to do in past years. So it's a good start for us, and I want to acknowledge that. Next, I've got a street acceptance. This street has been approved by engineering for acceptance. It's Capote Court, and we're asking council's approval.
Got a motion and second for approval. See no discussion, and the item is queued for your voting. It passes.
Next, I've got a request to use OLOS Public Safety Contingency Funds from the fiscal year 18 budget. And these dollars, because of some serious issues we have with the kitchen in the jail, we've had to shut down the kitchen while repairs are being made to the floor and some other things in the kitchen at the jail, and that kitchen is just inoperable, and we're have had to bring in a mobile kitchen due to those repairs that are needed. And this mobile kitchen is going to cost between $109,945 and $164,945. And so we're asking your approval on that, as well as purchase and or replace inoperable, obsolete tasers for the sheriff that will cost $20,164.
We've got a motion and a second for approval, and we have Councilor Thomas with discussion.
I just have a couple of questions, Mr. City Manager. Did you say that the mobile kitchen has already been brought in?
I believe not yet.
I guess one of my concerns is the wide variance on the cost from $109,000 and could cost as much as $164,000. Have we not entered into any kind of an agreement to have this work done?
Well, and it's work and meals and the cost of meals, but why don't you talk about that?
Right. We will enter the agreement for the mobile kitchen once council approves the funding. The cost variance is due to the construction timeline. It could be from 30 days to 60 days, and that's why that variance. The minimum is 30 days. The engineering department has put out the request for bids for the construction and has stipulated in that request a 30-day construction timeline, but we're giving some leeway to that timeline, and that's why it goes from that 109 to the 164. It's 30 days to 60 days. That includes the installation of the kitchen as well as the cost of food to feed the inmates.
So is this price tag, the 109 to 164, the cost of the mobile kitchen, or is it also the cost of repairing the kitchen for?
No.
That's a separate cost?
That's a separate cost.
And so this fluctuation depends on, we pay for the mobile kitchen by the number of days that we use it, kind of thing?
That's correct. That's
Okay.
correct.
And I noticed that this, you've asked that this come out of the public safety side of the OLOS, and my question would be, why is it not coming out of the infrastructure side?
Well, that is a very good question. This particular, the funding for this particular project seems to qualify for use of the public safety OLOS contingency. The monies that we have in contingency in OLOS was originally budgeted for Phase 2 of the sheriff's pay reform. Of course, that did not pass during the budget process, and so
Well, and the bottom line is, while it is a city building, it's a public safety facility. And it makes sense to use public safety OLOS to fund this need for public safety.
I don't have a problem with our using OLOS money for this purpose.
Yes.
I'm just questioning, because it is construction, if you will, why it would not come out of the infrastructure side. I don't want us to get into the habit of, just whoever happens to have money will take it.
Well, and as she said, the sheriff actually asked that monies be used to fund the second phase of what she wanted as a pay raise that would be similar to what CPD received over the last few years, and that was not funded. And we had set that money aside in contingency in the budget, and it actually stayed there. And so the money is available from that fund since that did not get funded.
And as far as the facility monies that was allocated in the FY18 budget, it was, I'm not exactly sure what projects, the Public Works has lined up for the facility monies, but I believe the facility allocation was about $300,000, so it would, this cost would most certainly eat into that infrastructure money that is to use amongst, all facilities, and we just felt that since this was a public safety facility, the public safety contingency would be the best use.
Well, I will tell you that I'm somewhat concerned that you have said that this money was requested by the sheriff's office. They were told no, and then, so let's use it for something else but the sheriff's office. I don't have any doubt in my mind that this kitchen needs to be fixed and that it needs to be fixed right away. But I do not want us to get into the habit of using this OLOS money unless it's the appropriate thing to do.
Right.
Tell me about the tasers. Now, this is a multi-year payment for the tasers, is that right?
That's correct.
And we're going to get them all at one time and pay them over a number of years?
That's correct.
And this year, the $20,000 plus for the tasers will come out of the public safety OLOS, but in coming years, the $26,000 a year will not. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I don't know if the major.
More about the tasers?
Well, and that is it. And I think it's good to point out that you're paying for cartridges and all of that now, and with this agreement, those are going to come as part of this. and ultimately, you're going to win by saving money to the tune of $18,000 or more as a result of that.
That is correct, and the timing of this was critical for the purpose of savings. To do this agreement, we had to enter upon this agreement by the end of this month, and the whole purpose for that was to save somewhere between $18,000 and $20,000 toward this purchase. But if we could get the money to get it started this year, we would be willing to continue it over the next 4 years through our OLOS grant.
Through OLOS?
Well, that would be the only funding we have available that we know of going forward. I mean, we can't, at this point, stand before you and say that the money is going to be budgeted otherwise in our operating budget. So the only other way we know to continue it over the next 4 years would be to commit to pay for it out of any appropriated OLOS funding
I
for
thought
capital.
I read somewhere that that the ensuing years would not be OLOS money.
Well, I think what you probably read is that you would bring it forward as part of your budget request.
Correct.
And it may very well, you may ask for it out of general fund, or you may, if the sheriff department and like all public safety agencies, if you're allocated a certain amount of funding through OLOS, you would use $23,000 of that to satisfy this need.
Yeah, ideally, we would prefer it to be in our operating budget, but we could go either direction.
I do think tasers are a proper expenditure for that public safety money in the OLOS budget. I just thought that I had read that it would be the first installment out of public safety and then the others out of the regular budget request.
We would be very agreeable with that.
Tonight, we are asked to approve $20,000 out of public safety OLOS.
That's correct.
And then, knowing that in the coming years, there will be additional installments to pay for this, and at that time, the sheriff's office will come to us with a source of...
It'll come forward in their budget proposal request, and it'll be from one source or the other, and council will have the prerogative to approve either of those sources, move it, or do whatever you want to do at that time.
Okay. But thank you. As I said, I do think both of these projects are proper OLOS projects. I just want us to be sure that we're pulling it from the right side of the OLOS money and that we're doing the proper steps. I think it's it is appropriate to do it this way.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And when this comes up, as staff, I think they try and look at the funding source that makes sense.
And they probably say, and Councilor Thomas is going to ask us about it. Because she is.
Yeah, well.
And that's okay. Thank you, Mr. City Manager.
Okay. Did you?
Thank you.
Did you have something? And we have the Mayor Pro Tem.
The same, Mr. City Manager, I thought the infrastructure side was for non-public safety infrastructure projects.
Well, it's kind of like the general fund on the infrastructure. I mean, you can either use it for either or. It can go either way. And but typically when we make an allocation to public safety, it doesn't go either way. It's kind of restricted. So if we didn't have the public safety dollars to take care of something like this, obviously we would take the infrastructure dollars and use it. And as the finance director said, I think we've got about $300,000 budgeted for all city buildings, and we would probably use all of that on this one thing if we used it.
Right.
Okay. All right, we have Councilor Walker. Garrett.
Mr. City Manager, and you may be able to answer this for me, or somebody from the Sheriff's Department would, but somebody in the audience sent me something that it was just a quote for a mobile kitchen that feeds 2,000 people, and it was $7,000 a month. Do you know where the extra money, I guess, is coming from that's driving this estimate up, if that's the food cost or?
Well, you know, Counselor, we go through a procurement process.
Sure.
And whoever they know that offers a mobile kitchen, I hope that they keep up and they submit their proposal that meet the specifications on a mobile kitchen. It is not unusual for us to hear what you received from the audience. You know, we spend $4,500 on a radio, and someone will send an email and say, I can get it for $250 down at the local store. Well, you know, it's just, and with lawnmowers, zero turn radius lawnmowers, we get those kinds of calls. Well, you go to the hardware store, and the council members around this table who've been here have heard that time and time and time and time again. It just is not that simple, but the process is open to any and all, and they all, if they can meet the specs and do what we're trying to do to meet the Department of Justice requirements, for $7,000, I'll take it any day.
Well, I will say this,
Yeah.
that the current food services vendor that we have in the jail, they are, as part of their contract, they are responsible for obtaining the mobile kitchen. We just have to pay for it.
And also, Troy, since you've come up, I mean, I don't want anybody to get the impression that these guys over at the jail are getting, you know, frittatas and soufflés. It's like, what, 59 cents a meal we pay or something?
We pay 89 cents a meal.
Yeah, a meal.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are eating base food. So anyway, go ahead.
The
But,
meals
but,
as
ma'am,
such
I
are
wanted to make
about
sure that we
89
answered.
cents now, but for the operation of the mobile kitchen, the meals will go up approximately 61 cents. That's per meal, per inmate, 3 times a day. So, I mean, you can readily see how that escalates this amount of money. And furthermore, in just some inquiry that I've done, I kind of question, well, you know, why would it be such an increase? And the best answer they've given me is it's such a volume of paper goods that they have to use in a mobile kitchen. It's not like, you know, they can wash plates. Everything is cooked and wrapped, and every meal is just a high volume of paper products. And so that was what I was told and understood why that 89 cents is increasing to, I think it's like $1.51. I might be a few cents off. I don't have that figure in front of me, but I hope that maybe answers your question more directly.
And Madam Mayor, to Councilor Thomas, that's why I was mentioning a part of that 109 to 164,000 includes that increased cost of meal that will come in through the mobile kitchen.
Okay.
The mobile kitchen has to come out of California. We have found that's not something that's just every state has. So where they're looking at is it's actually got to come out of California, and it takes a lot of coordination and logistics. And then, of course, once it gets here, engineering has to set it up to code. Even though it will be in the jail parking lot, it's just not just a matter of just kind of just plugging it in. There's quite a few other things that have to be done by the law.
It's not like a food truck. I don't know who thinks they can do it for $7,000.
Well, no, it's a company out of California, actually.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we have Counselor Garrett send that to you, Mr. City
I'll
Manager,
send
and then you can call, and, I mean, usually I get those too. People call and say, well, my cousin could have built that for, you know, $3 a square foot, and then we go and see, and not really. And so why don't we get that information, see what the difference is, and if, you know, hey, if they can do it and the company will use them, then we'll get it done.
And I just want to clarify, the 89-cent part of the meal still comes from the sheriff's office. What we're asking for in OLAW's contingency is just the cost to cover the increase in the meal cost. So the additional 62 cents or 61 cents.
Yeah.
Hey, and another, something we considered, I don't know if maybe the word strategy is, but Trinity is our food service provider. So the idea was to use our food service provider, make them be responsible for this mobile kitchen to bring it in and set it up. The value to me and the protection for the city in that is that if we do this through our contracted food service provider, then they are responsible. If that mobile kitchen goes down at night or whatever happens, then it's their responsibility to continue to feed the inmates. But as the city or the sheriff's office, if we independently went out and done this, then we're going to be responsible, and Burger King on 4th Avenue is going to get lit up. So, I mean, or whoever. So the point is they're in the food service business, and we just saw them as the contracted entity that can do this. They will be responsible in my eyes as far as keeping that kitchen operating, because it is mobile, and I think there's more risk involved in running a mobile kitchen versus the regular kitchen that's in the jail. So we were just trying to stay out of the mobile kitchen business as well, but and set the accountability where it needs to be. And I think that's good sheriff and good city business. But that's my opinion.
And I mean, I was just going to say, it just, yeah, the people in jail have we have to be really, really concerned about their rights, and it has nothing to do with it. But if the AC goes out in the government center building, and we got to order a part out of Atlanta, we might be able to wait till tomorrow. But if it goes out in the jail, we got to drive to Atlanta and get it tonight because of their protection and their rights. So it has to be done right.
Okay. Great. We've got, let's see here, we've got Councilor Allen. And what I'd like to do, Mr. City Manager, is these folks are here. We've just learned to donate something to us. And we do this time and time again. Folks come and they come away from their families and they take off of work and they're just trying to give us something. And we make them sit here 3-4 hours. So whatever it is you got next, I'd like you to hold it and get these people up next. That being said, and I'm sorry if I had known that you were an add-on, so you're not on any list I have, and I just apologize greatly.
And I'll bring them up now, Mayor.
Well, we need to finish. We've got the floor open for a counselor, so and we got a vote and a motion on the table. So Councilor Allen, let's get to you, and then I just want to make sure that you get to them next,
Sure.
Okay?
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a quick question. Just to clarify the numbers that were given, the current cost of a meal per inmate per day is, or per meal per inmate, is 89 cents.
That's correct.
And it's going up an additional 61 cents.
Yes, for the mobile kitchen, 62 cents.
62 cents. Okay.
Yes.
The mobile kitchen is, what is that again?
109,000.
That's internal? That's an internal?
No, they're doing it from California, bringing it from California, are they? The mobile kitchen.
The mobile kitchen, yes, as the major said, they're bringing it in from California, but it's our currently contracted food services vendor at the jail that is providing the preparations for the kitchen.
Okay, so going forward, it will be $1.60, whatever.
Until we get our kitchen back, and then it goes back to the
original. Okay.
To the 89 cents.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, that concludes discussion, and we have the item queued for your vote. Okay, thank you. And now, Mr. City Manager, we'll turn over to you for the recognition of our guests.
And Madam Mayor, let me just say, I do want to apologize to them as well, and that's why I was kind of thrown off at the start of my agenda, because I was trying to find out why they were here.
I thought they were on public agenda, so
Yeah, I
I'm
thought
sorry, folks.
so too. But this is through Public Works, a donation for Veterans Memorial Columbarium, and we're asking approval to accept donations of cash for the construction, maintenance, and operations of a Veterans Columbarium, as well as the purchase of urns for indigent veterans. The Cemetery Division has interred roughly 40 indigent veteran ashes in East Porterdale without ceremony, and Public Works has now designated a columbarium to be constructed in Riverdale Cemetery for the cremains of veterans. This columbarium will be constructed with a combination of in-house labor and volunteer labor, as well as some material from Public Works for operational supplies, as well as materials donated for use at the columbarium. And so it's funded through private donations, and we want to thank all of those present here tonight for being here and for their generosity, their benevolence in wanting to do this for our city.
So we need to accept it. We need
Yes.
a motion to accept. A motion and a second. All those in favor, please state aye. Okay, and I want to call forward the gentleman that's the head of this special group. I had the opportunity to meet you, and it's tremendous what you do. They were big helpers in our, when we had the evacuees here and the shelters. Your group, the mission continues. Tell us a little bit about it, and let's see if we can't make it right for having y'all sit here tonight.
Well, I'm going to tell my guys, hey, thank you guys for showing up, because what we're trying to do, I noticed that we are add-on in your list. We're not just an add-on, we're an asset. We're an asset to you guys. What you guys don't know is we're newly formed here in Columbus, but we're nationwide. We've been around for a while, and we are all military, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine. And, you know, we had a mission in the military. We're out now, but the mission still continues because it's going to be here in our backyard. We're here to be an asset to the city of Columbus. Volunteers, that's all we are. And we want, what I want to do is bring in my city impact manager, and I want to introduce him so he can tell you a little more about what we do.
Sure. Because
he's in charge of the platoons in Atlanta, Jacksonville, and Columbus.
Great, thank you. Welcome, sir.
Good evening, Mayor Tomlinson, members of the City Council. My name is Stuart Williams. I'm the City Impact Manager with the Mission Continues. We are a national veterans empowerment organization whereby we help veterans who are transitioning out of the military find new missions at home, which is exactly what Hy just talked about. We operate currently in over 35 cities across the country. We have been responding and responsive to many of the natural disasters that you've read about in our country, from Irma to Houston, Texas. Our volunteers who are working with our organization have responded in various ways. And so we really just provide an outlet for our transitioning veterans who are coming out of the military, who have an honor and a duty to serve their country, to fulfill that same duty in their own backyards. As a City Impact Manager, my role is to work with this group of volunteers to help identify ways in which they can partner with the city, with other nonprofits here in the county and in the city, in order for them to have impact. Currently, we also offer a fellowship program where we provide transitioning veterans coming out of the military a 6-month fellowship of their choice, working at a nonprofit of their choice. We pay them a stipend for that 6 months. There is no cost or obligation to the organization or to the city government. In some places, we have fellows working with city government. I'll use the city of Atlanta, for example. We have a number of fellows that currently work with the Office of Sustainability, helping them with tire recycling, developing programs for the city to help beautify the city. So these are various ways in which our veterans are leveraged as assets in the community. So when we put together our fellows along with our service platoons of volunteers, it really leads to significant impact. Here, we currently have fellows working with the Chattahoochee Valley Boys and Girls Clubs, Damascus Way, and a number of organizations that Hy can probably speak to a lot better than I can. But we're very delighted to be launching our Columbus First Platoon, which will be launching in October. And we know that they're going to continue to have the same impact that our veterans are having across the country. I would like to thank the city for giving us this opportunity to provide a very valuable service and need to service veterans with this memorial. We know it's needed. We want to leverage our veterans' skills and assets and abilities to be able to help fulfill that promise to them. So again, thank you on behalf of the Mission Continues for allowing us to be of service to your city.
Well, you've certainly exploded onto the scene. and made a huge difference. And you're absolutely right. You're not an add-on. It may be an add-on to the agenda in that it was not on when it was printed, but you are most certainly an asset, and we're so very appreciative of you and what you do. And again, I apologize greatly that we didn't pull you up to at least the top of the city manager's agenda, and it's just one of those things that happens sometimes. We'd also like to, I'll ask Eric in my office to get with you, maybe get you here on a proclamation session one time. So I'll have Eric give one of you all a buzz. It looks like Pat's got your contact information, and we'll call you and explain exactly what that is and get you back so we can give you the recognition that you deserve and the opportunity to be heard before the citizens. So thank you so much. We've got several counselors that would like to speak. We have Councilor Huff.
Thank you for your service, all of you. I was watching some of the storm news the other night, excuse me, and they had a couple of veterans speaking, and they were speaking of the fact that after you've been out there taking care of your country for years and years and years, there's a void to fill when you retire and you get out of the military, and that you're looking to serve and to help somewhere. So they talked about the fact that in a given day, you all don't think about it. It's just, what is the mission? What do we need to get done? And we get it done. I enjoyed the nonverbal that you and I were having, because it seems as though you get a lot done in an 8-hour period, let alone a 2-hour period. And you want to kind of move it along. But my everyday career, I'm a funeral director, I'm a mortician. So I appreciate what you're doing. I have been in and out of that facility many times, and there are a lot of veterans there as we speak. And we at my particular business have looked over that over the years, and we've tried to do things for veterans, because veterans sometimes have a real good life for a period of years. And if they live too long, sometimes in their senior years, no family, no one to look after them. And it's necessary to make sure that they get burial that's befitting to the service that they render to their country. So thank you for what you're doing, and anything I can do to help you, I'll be glad to do it. And again, thank you to all of you for all that you've done, because they tell me many times, and they told me over the years while I was playing baseball and doing different things, you sleep well at night because of us. You know not what goes on while you are a student in college, or you're on baseball field, you're just having dinner. You have no idea what we're up against trying to keep the country safe. So thank you again.
We will talk about how you can help us later.
All right. We've got Councilor Woodson.
Well, I personally want to say thank you. I wish you guys were around when I got out. I can tell you that a soldier, when they serve and they get out, it's a very challenging move. It's very emotional, very stressful, and people do not understand. I went through a difficult time when I got out, very emotionally, because after 15 years and all of a sudden in the civilian world, you're lost, because you're used to having a mission, you're used to being with people, you make new families, they become your families, your brothers, your sisters, and it's very, very difficult when you transition. So I know the military has done some things, but I'm very impressed. I didn't know that you existed. I wish someone would come and say how, if someone that's listening out there can contact you and join your group or be a part of your group. I know there are a lot of them like me. I'm a bad girl. I haven't even registered or anything because I'm a workaholic, and in the future I plan to be more involved because I miss it. There are a lot of us that miss that lifestyle, and it's very difficult. So I'm very, very impressed and very happy, and our community does need a lot of help. Ourselves right now, you talked about the hurricane. We met today because Puerto Rico is in such a disaster, and we're getting ready to form, well, we have an organization we just formed today that says Tri-City United for Puerto Rico, and we will need your help getting the word out. And so, but we're not rushing, we're taking our time because we want to touch those small communities that people have not touched. that has the elderly, that have people that need generators and things like that. But I like to know more about your organization because I sure miss being in the Army. And I said, I always tell my kids, if the Army would take me back, I would go tomorrow. But unfortunately, I'm too old, they don't want me. But thank you for what you do. I truly, truly appreciate it. You've touched my heart today, and I like to be part of your group as much as I have very little time because I'm so busy. But the little bit I have, I would like to share it with you because I understand your mission. I've been there and done that and wore the T-shirt, as the kids would say. Thank you.
Guess what? I have a T-shirt for each one of you guys when I come back in October.
Yeah, what was the date? I was going to say, what's the date for October? Thank you for reminding me.
For the T-shirts or?
No, for the platoon, it's something about the platoon, October, the initiative of the platoon.
Are they coming back for the proclamation session? They're coming back for the proclamation session.
But no, he mentioned something about a new platoon in Columbus in October.
Yeah, that's us. We're new. You haven't heard of us because we're not officially here. It took me a year and a half
Oh, okay.
to get them to bless us with a platoon here.
Okay.
So we'll become official, and hopefully, if you guys put the word out there like we will, the whole city will know who we are and what we do.
High is our dedicated volunteer who will be serving as the platoon leader for the Columbus 1st Platoon. He will be sent away for a few days for an orientation. Upon his return, I think on the 15th of October, he will come back and the platoon will officially be launched. And at that point, they will have a number of projects that will be lined up for citizens, veterans to get involved with. The great thing about our organization is that you do not have to be a veteran to be a member of our service platoon. We work hand in hand with our residents, with our communities, that we're in this together. It's not just about veterans coming together. It's about communities coming together and how our veterans are leveraged as assets on behalf of that community. So there'll be many more opportunities and experiences for members of the council and others in this community to get involved with The Mission Continues. You can visit our website at www.themissioncontinues.org. You will notice that we are a national organization, and Columbus 1st Platoon will eventually be listed after October 15th.
Did you say .org?
.org, yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, again, we're so
Thank you.
glad to have you with us, and thanks for all you do for our community. We are going to call you back for the proclamation session. I'll have somebody get with you, and we're going to get you to the very top of that agenda, as close as we can possibly get you to the top.
We're going to give you an example of what we do on the 28th of October.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yes, Pat?
Just to let you know how fast they really do work, we are planning the dedication ceremony for the Veterans Memorial Columbarium on November 10th at 11 a.m. At that time, we'll be transferring all of the indigent veterans from our indigent columbarium to this columbarium as part of that ceremony.
Wow, fantastic.
So please mark your calendars, November 10th at 11 a.m.
Okay. Thank you, Pat, very much. All right. Let's see here, back to the city manager then.
Madam Mayor, next, I've got the... Yeah.
We voted to accept it, yes.
I've got issuance of a tax anticipation note in fiscal year 2018. The finance director and staff came to you at the last business meeting to explain anticipation notes, how they work, why we think that we would like to have this in hand in the event we need it. We were going to come back to you and talk about an amount. The amount being presented to you tonight is not to exceed $9.2 million and to pay certain fees associated with the issuance. And of course, we know, as we talked about at the last meeting, why and what it is, and we'll answer any additional questions that you have at this time, but it's all about having the necessary cash flow that we will need to see us through the December 1st date that we know for sure that we'll get collections, and hopefully people will start to pay now that they've heard from the tax assessor tonight and the tax commissioner, and the buildings will go out, as she indicated, tomorrow. But we're asking you to approve tax anticipation note solicitation of bids not to exceed $9.2 million.
Motion and second for approval. There's no discussion on this item. You may record your votes. All right, and it does pass.
Okay, I've got purchases, and first is declaration of surplus ambulances and fire trucks and donation of the surplus vehicles. And we've got 4 fire trucks, 3 ambulances, and we are asking that they be donated to the listed volunteer fire departments: Oakland, Lumpkin, Marion, Tazewell in Georgia. These are volunteer fire departments.
Got a motion and second for approval. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, the item is queued for voting. And it passes.
We're asking that council declare equipment. We've got a list of what we consider surplus equipment, asking you to declare it surplus, and approval requested to move forward with the auction. The auctioneer that we use is Evans Auctioneer in Inc., and we've used them over the last number of years.
Got a motion and second for approval. Is there any discussion? Seeing none? No second. You may vote. And it passes.
The next item is just to correct and amend the resolution for surplus vehicle. They inadvertently put the wrong vehicle number on the resolution, and we're asking to correct that.
Got a motion and second for approval. You may record your votes electronically. And it passes.
Next, we've got evidence records program for the district attorney. It's $19,925 plus the cost for yearly maintenance.
Got a motion and second for approval. Seeing no discussion, you may record your vote. And it passes.
Got household hazardous waste sorting and disposal services as an annual contract with MXI Environmental.
Motion and second for approval. You may record your votes. Maybe we need you. You pressed it before it was queued. Okay, there we go. And it passes.
Got ARC GIS software license and maintenance. It's $43,365.75. Asking council's approval.
Got a motion and second for approval. There is no discussion, and the item's queued for voting. And it passes.
Got annual maintenance renewal for Cisco switches. It's $39,710.89. It's CPAC Technology Solutions.
Got a motion and second for approval. There's no discussion, and you may record your votes. Let's see, we're missing somebody. I know, it's not you this time. Let's see, Mayor Pro Tem. Okay, we got it.
We've got SIP implementation services, $29,000 to provide implementation services for the new SIP VoIP telephone solution.
We have a motion and second, and there is no discussion. The item is queued for your voting. And it passes.
Then we've got the tasers and associated equipment for Sheriff's Office, the 5-year agreement that we talked about earlier when we talked about the mobile kitchen.
Got a motion and second. We have discussion from Councilor Thomas.
How does this tie in with what we have already approved?
Yeah, this is the actual agreement, the purchase and the 5-year deal that they talked about, where initially it's going to come out of the OLOS, and then next year they're going to budget and bring it back.
So this is not in addition to
No.
what we've already done?
No.
And this is where I knew that I had seen somewhere that it said
Yeah.
a 5-year payment out, and it says that for the remaining 4 years, it'll come out of the general fund, Sheriff's Administration.
That's correct, because the OLOS distributions is contingent on the availability of funds to be allocated to the public safety departments. And so the sheriff's office would have to pay for the tasers out of their general fund budget if they if they did not receive any OLOS allocations.
And typically, each public safety agency would get a certain allocation, and then they typically tell us what they want to do with that allocation that they're going to get. And obviously, sometimes their list is longer than the money available to that particular agency. And I think they are saying that in the allocation award is what
They intend to pay
Major
for
McCray
it.
anticipate we would say to them, you have $300,000 available to you, or whatever that amount is. And in that amount, when they start prioritizing their needs, that this would be one of the needs to fulfill this TASER 5-year agreement.
But if they receive no OLOS allocation for whatever reason, they would have to pay for it out of their general fund budget.
Yeah.
I hope you're keeping up with all of this.
I am.
It sounds
I
fairly
promise.
complicated or involved.
Okay?
Okay. Let's see, that concludes the discussion, and so we're ready for a vote. The item is queued at this time.
And Councilor Thomas, I can
It'll be,
assure you,
okay,
she
that's
will
good.
keep up with it. She will. Yes. Okay, Madam Mayor?
Yes, that did pass.
Okay, and the last item on purchase is rehabilitation of the fire sprinkler system at Golden Park. It's $14,515.
Got a motion and second for approval, and there is no discussion. The item is queued for your voting. And it does pass.
And there was an emergency purchase back on Wednesday, September 13th, that we noted in your packet for the tax commissioner for bulk mail-in services for property tax bills. Just want to mention that to you. And then we did have an add-on, one we've already handled with the veterans, and the second add-on is a request to accept approximately $23,000 from 2017, fiscal year 2017, and $50,000 for fiscal year 2018 in support of the Martin Luther King commemorative event, and to expend monies to cover the expenses of the event approved by the commission and the mayor. But in no event in excess of amounts received in donation will be spent.
Okay. Got a motion and second for approval. There is no discussion at this time, and the item
Madam Mayor, it's an
is-
add-on, so.
Uh-oh. Can you clear that one?
It's an add-on, so it's not on the agenda.
Okay, we'll take an oral vote. All those in favor, please state aye. Any opposed? Okay.
And Madam Mayor and Council, I've got two updates. The 13th Street update by Engineering Director Donna Newman, and then the Finance Monthly update will be by our Finance Director. Engineering Director Donna Newman first.
Thank you. As you may recall, back in the summer, we came forward where we were working with the Georgia Department of Transportation. They had a resurfacing project planned for what they refer to as Spur 22, which is the 13th Street, very short section of Buena Vista Road, Winton Road, out Macon Road. I think it ended around Reese Road area that they were planning and actually had a contract for. And then we were working with them on what 13th Street might look like when they came back to restrike. That contract has since been suspended and delayed to possibly next spring. We don't have a firm date yet. So I know there was a lot of discussion at council and in the community about 13th Street, and we never came back before you asking for anything. So we just wanted you to know that that has been suspended at this point in time. We may come back in the future once we get a contract date. I think they're trying to tie it in. Well, there's a couple of problems that they had with the contract. One is they didn't have a contractor to raise and lower the valve covers and manholes, and Waterworks was not available to do that, and they wanted to time the project in conjunction with the Winton Streetscapes, which is getting ready to get started. And then we had a drainage project in the same general area that we wanted to complete before they resurfaced as well. So that was all reasons behind suspending the contract for now and looking at it again in the spring in their new fiscal year.
We just wanted to share that information, Madam Mayor.
No comment at this time.
And next, we've got our Finance Director, Angelica Alexander, with the Finance Monthly Update.
All right. Well, hello again. What we have here tonight is the unaudited monthly financial update for FY18 through August of 2017. Just starting out on the right side of the snapshot that you have before you for the general fund. When comparing August of 2017 to August 2016, the general fund appears to be down 10.93%. Of course, we know with the issues that we've had with our property tax system, property taxes does play a significant part in that. I know council, particularly Councilor Henderson, has asked about the impact of the digest that we just received last week from the Tax Commissioner's Office. We have some questions about the digest that we are requesting from the Tax Commissioner's Office. They did respond to us late this afternoon. We haven't had time to go through that response to complete our analysis, but as soon as we do, we'll bring a report back to council as far as the impact of the digest and the TADs in particular. So there's also in the general fund some timing differences. As you know, during the months of July, August, and September, we are heavily involved in our annual audit. There are a ton of accruals that we're processing back to the prior fiscal year. Some of the disturbances that you see or the deficiencies that you see is due to the timing of those accruals. One in particular in the general fund is our cost allocation services. We usually record that revenue at the beginning of the quarter. That was not actually recorded until this month, which is September, so it's not reflected in these numbers. Had it been reflected, though, in these numbers and recorded at the beginning of the quarter, general fund would only be down about 1.4% as opposed to the 10.93 that you see. So I just wanted to make mention of that because it's pretty significant. The other local option sales tax fund is up 9.3%. I would say that is more than likely a one-time occurrence. As you know, the state of Georgia We forego the sales tax holiday this year in August. I would attribute that increase to the state foregoing the sales tax holiday. So it may be slightly different next year if the state of Georgia decides to have that sales tax holiday again in August for back-to-school shopping. The sewer stormwater fund is down 44.25%. It is a fund that is supported by sales tax, property tax revenue, and so that's why that deficit is so dramatic, as well as the paving fund, which is down 80.03%. Medical center fund, it's solely funded with property tax revenue. We haven't recorded any to date. The integrated waste fund is up 1.71%. The emergency telephone fund is down 0.33%. The Economic Development Authority Fund is also down. It's a fund that is solely supported by property tax revenue. Our debt service fund is heavily supported by property tax revenue. It is also down 88.41%. Our transportation metro fund, this is another issue with the timing of accruals. That would be why the deficit appears to be what it is in August. We didn't actually receive the last quarter of their grant for FY17 until September. So if it was posted in August as we expected it to be, then that fund would actually be up 1.75%. So it's a timing issue as far as Metro is concerned. Parking management revenue is down 34%. And although the revenue is down, expenditures are also down when comparing August of 2017 to August 2016. Expenditures are down over 16%. The parking management fund is, they only have 4 employees, and they're experiencing some staffing issues. They have a long-term employee that's currently out on leave, and their temporary replacement is still in training. So they're still working through that. As you also may remember, Council opened the parking garages up to the public. That was effective January 2017, so we're still experiencing some loss in revenues from the leasing of parking spaces and a special event revenue. The Trade Center Fund is down 4.77%. Bull Creek Golf Course Fund is down 0.70%. Oxbow Creek Golf Course Fund is down 0.28%, and the Civic Center Fund is up 23.72%. Moving on to the local option sales tax, the public safety summary. In revenues to date, we've collected just over $2 million, almost $2.1 million in revenue recorded. Expenditures are $4.3 million. For the other local option sales tax for infrastructure, we've recorded just over $900,000 in revenue, and the expenditures are at $1.5 million. Right below the infrastructure summary, there are the other local option sales tax as far as the positions that are currently filled. That's as of the end of FY17 and also through August of FY18. So there is a difference here for FY18. If you notice in the court-related, it now has 11, and that's just due to the additional position that was included in the FY18 budget for the Clerk of Superior Court. So moving on to the general fund expenditures, the goal at this particular point is to be less than 17%. All of the departments that are not less than 17% are highlighted here. As far as council is concerned, council, just as many of our other departments, have dues and maintenance agreements and whatnot that are due at the beginning of the fiscal year. A lot of our departments encumber their annual contracts at the beginning of the fiscal year. So for council, of course, we have the GMA dues that were due at the beginning of the fiscal year. For the city attorney's office, of course, we're defending several $1 million in claims as far as the litigation is concerned. For the information technology department, the annual fees for various software lease and maintenance agreements. For engineering, the annual payment for Motorola for radio maintenance. That was paid out at the beginning of the fiscal year. For the tax assessor's office, the vendor to process the payments for the tax notices and also overtime that wasn't originally budgeted in the tax assessor's office to get the notices out. Also for the Muskogee County Prison, we had the prisoner medical contract that was encumbered. And for the Superior State Court judges, we had payment to vendors for the interpreter services. I didn't, there are others on here that are highlighted because they're just slightly below, slightly above the 17%. I'm not concerned at this particular point in the fiscal year with them being above the goal. Again, we are still finishing out our audit and still processing accruals, and some of these expenditures are being accrued back to FY17. So we should see expenditures as well as revenues sort of normalize as we move into October. So September's report would be a more telling of where we are as far as revenues and expenditures are concerned. Also posted on ECAP, there is a listing of all of the other local option sales tax projects. There's a listing of all of the T-SPLOS projects as well as the other local option sales tax expenditures by department. And that's it. I'll take any questions if you have them.
All right, let's see, we have Counselor Henderson.
Thank you, Mayor.
Hold on just a second.
Okay.
There we go.
Thanks. Yeah, I don't know if this is the right time to ask it. I know that we had talked about when we were addressing the TADs and we were designing that geographical area that we were going to allow. One of the concerns I think the entire council shared was as we caught up with our assessments, we might discover that there had been some dramatic changes simply because we hadn't really developed a good solid baseline. And I know we indicated that once we got this completed, we were going to be able to reset the baseline by making a slight adjustment to the boundaries. And we talked at length about this, and I just don't want us to let that drop off the radar. I'm not sure it's going to be a ton of money, but because it's the public's money, I think we really need to make sure we get an accurate baseline. So I guess this is sort of a referral to Mr. Jones under your advice to kind of take a look at what's the best way to do that so that we can re-trigger that baseline and get an accurate benchmark before we get any applications for individual projects.
Okay. And Madam Mayor, we'll take it as a referral and take a very close look.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. We've got Counselor Huff.
Quick question. You mentioned notices going out by the tax assessor's office. So is it both notices going out tax assessor's office and tax commission?
Well, yes, the assessment notices went out. I think at the last council meeting, we actually, council approved payment to that vendor. So now that we processed payment, we'll need to accrue it back to FY17 because that's when they mail the notices out.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see, we have Counselor Thomas.
And Mr. City Manager, I've just been reminded that if we make any changes to those baselines of the TADs, it has to be done this calendar year. So there is some sense of urgency to get that done before the end of December.
Okay, sure.
Okay. All right, that concludes, we've got Counselor Huff.
Yeah, quick, I'm done with that. I just wanted to, as part of the city manager's agenda, I had to step out. If you would record me as affirmative affirmative votes for his rest of his agenda on the purchases while I was out of the room. Thank you.
And Madam Mayor, if there are no other questions, that will conclude my agenda. But one announcement, the 10th Annual Hometown Connection Legislative Agenda is October 30th at the Trade Center, 11:30 a.m. until 1:30 p.m. We've attached or provided to members of council in the information section the draft proposed legislative agenda. We've got 8 items listed, and we've also attached the 2017 agenda that went forward, and many of those things on the 2017 legislative agenda that have been carried over year after year after year after year. We're not bringing them forward unless you tell us to. It seems apparent that the legislative delegation know that we have concerns about those things, but there's been no activity. And so we're bringing 8 items that we think needs their immediate attention. So if there's something that's not listed on the legislative agenda that you want listed, let us know. If there's something that's on the 2017 legislative agenda that we did not bring over to the 2018 proposed agenda, let us know. We will come back to you either the second Tuesday or the 4th Tuesday of October, likely the 4th Tuesday, to ask you to vote on each item on the legislative agenda.
Where was that listed?
It's in the information section of ECAP, if you go to information. And so, but just wanted to bring that to your attention. There's still time to add or add things to the agenda, so let us know. I just pulled it up, so it should, I'm looking at it now, so it should be in your information section.
Okay. We have Counselor Huff.
Did Director Jones leave already for the evening? Is he still here? He's still going to do his...
He's still here.
He's still at the presentation?
He's still here.
He's still going to do the 2038?
Not tonight.
Okay, I just had a question.
But yeah, he can come around.
Yeah. Director Jones, thank you for being here for a long, long time tonight. I just wanted you to bail me out. I had a constituent to call me on my way into council meeting in reference to the Follow Me Trail project, and he frequents that area from, I guess, every other day or so. And he was concerned that he had not seen any construction, anything going on in the last couple of weeks, and I just wanted you to update the public.
Council Huff, there is work ongoing. What the holdup right now, if there is such a thing, is unfortunately AT&T found one of their lines out there when they started construction on one side. AT&T, we thought we had already cleared all the utilities out of there when we got started, but unfortunately that was not the case. AT&T has got to relocate that line before we can get on that particular side and continue the work itself. That's not to say the work's not going to, they can still work on the other side and continue to do so. The urgency here is because of the fact that the bridge that will go across, it'll span across Victory, has been ordered. It is being manufactured right now. It is all in one piece, so they're going to come in and just drop that section in across Victory Drive. I have already told folks that I am going to sell tickets for this because if you have never seen them come in and just drop a bridge in all at one time and fasten it to the columns, you're missing a treat. Because it just fascinates me how they can be so exact in that science about doing that. But they are working.
Okay.
And we are still under the understanding there that they could be through with that, the bridge in place by late October, middle of November, at the very latest right now is what I'm looking for. So we're anticipating getting that project completed in the very near future.
Okay, thank you. And let me know, because I do want to be there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, I think you said, Mr. City Manager, that was all for you?
That's all I have.
Okay, and we'll turn it over to the Deputy Clerk of Council.
Madam Mayor, members of council, on the clerk's agenda, items 1 through 10 are for information. Number 1 being a memo from Clerk of Council Washington on the Hospital Authority and their 3 upcoming term expirations. Number 2 is a bio sketch for Joy Humphrey. She is the Paws Columbus nominee, and she's listed later on the agenda for approval. Number 3 and 6 are actually together. That's Christy Ludy. Her bio sketch, she's the Department of Public Health nominee for the Animal Control Advisory Board. Item 7 through 10 are various street closures. Item 11 is a resolution excusing Counselor Huff.
Got a motion and second for approval. All those in favor, please state aye.
Number 12 being minutes.
Got a motion and second that the minutes be received, and that is the minutes of the Board of Tax Assessors, the Columbus Golf Course Authority, the Hospital Authority of Columbus, and the Land Bank Authority. All those in favor, please state aye.
On the Animal Control Advisory Board, Christy Ludy is up for confirmation.
Okay, we got a motion second. We have Counselor Garrett.
I was just doing an add-on resolution to excuse Counselor Davis from today's meeting.
Oh, okay. If you mark that down since I got a, and Counselor Barnes. Since we're, got this on, we'll, okay, this is a motion and second for Christy Ludy. All those in favor, please state aye.
Humphreys.
Oh, was it double? Okay, and
Yes,
Ms.
ma'am.
Humphries, thank you.
Okay, back to Counselor Garrett's motion.
Okay, that is a motion and a second to excuse counselors, it was Barnes and who else?
And Davis.
And Davis, okay. All those in favor, please state aye.
On the Building Authority, we still need someone for Kel Jackson's position. He resigned quite some time ago. On the Civic Center Advisory Board, we need a nominee for District 7. Columbus Aquatics Commission, we need a nominee for the seat of Kara Ibrahim. Barbara Cummings is interested, if someone would like to nominate her. Thank you, Counselor Allen. We'll bring this back for confirmation. I do, and I'll get it to you. On Community Development Advisory Counselor, Counselor Garrett, that issue the last meeting, that was my fault, I apologize. But Mr. McPherson has been nominated for District 7's seat. And is that for confirmation?
Got a motion second for confirmation. All those in favor, please state aye.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. The Comprehensive Plan Stakeholders Committee, we have, I believe it's 5 positions that we need filled and nominees for the city manager. We have 1 for each district, and Counselor Thomas has submitted her nominee and can be up for confirmation. Thank you.
Okay, we've got a motion and second to approve Counselor Thomas's nominations with an S?
Each district gets 1.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. All those in favor, please state aye.
For,
okay. Is that all of them?
there's 2 more. Yes.
Oh, great. Okay, great. All right, all those, I kind of lost count, but, all right, all those in favor, please state aye. Okay, and Counselor, okay, wait, Mayor Pro Tem was, have been
ahead.
trying to get in. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, that's
Mayor Pro Tem?
Gladys Ford.
I'm sorry, what was that first name?
Gladys Ford for District 4.
Okay.
The move for confirmation.
Second.
All those in favor, please state aye. Okay, now to Counselor Huff.
Mine would be Olive, O-L-I-V-E, Marie Gibson Kendall, Kendall. I move for confirmation.
Okay, we've got a motion second for confirmation. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
And we have Counselor Garrett.
Trip Wade for my District 8 slot, and move for confirmation.
Okay, we've got a motion second for confirmation. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
For the Housing Authority, Mayor Tomlinson has nominated Tiffany Stacy, and she can be confirmed.
Second.
We've got a motion second for confirmation. All those in favor, please state aye.
Keep Columbus Beautiful Commission, we still need representatives for District 2 and District 7, and KCBC is also working on these. For the Public Safety Advisory Commission, we need nominees for District 8 and 10. Okay, thank you. For the Recreation Advisory Board, District 2 needs a nominee. The Youth Advisory Council, we still need nominees for Districts 2, 3, and 5.
Okay, we have Counselor Huff.
Yes, sir.
District 3 would be Jamila, Jameelah Watson, Watson, Baker Middle School. Yeah, move for confirmation.
Okay, we've got a motion and second for confirmation. All those in favor, please state aye.
We also have 2 more for the Youth Advisory Council for confirmation for Districts 6 and 8, and they can both be confirmed.
Okay. Got a motion and second for confirmation. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, I had been sent somebody's, I know that somebody might be interested, and I had asked for the bio before the nomination. I never received it. Could you follow up on that, please, ma'am?
Yes,
For
sir, we
District 5?
will.
Thank you.
And
Okay,
real quick, if I may, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
For the Board of Honor, I know we had 3 requests, one from Counselor Woodson, one from Barnes, and one from Counselor Thomas. I have scheduled a meeting for next Wednesday at 3 o'clock, so they will meet on those requests.
Okay, and we have Counselor Huff.
Oh, I'm good.
Are you good? Okay.
And that's all I have, Madam Mayor.
That's all you have. All right, I believe we have a request for executive session on matters of litigation. Is that correct? Okay, we've got a motion from the Mayor Pro Tem. Is there a second? All right, let's see. All those in, okay, yes, sir? What's that? Okay, I tell you what, we're about to clear it. I'll come down and say hello, okay? All right, all those in favor, please state aye. All right, we'll clear the chamber. Sir, if you'll hold on just a second while we're, Richard. Hold on. Oh. All right, we are back out of executive session on matters of litigation. No votes were taken. This concludes our agenda for the evening. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. In a second, all those in favor, please state aye. Great, we're adjourned, and see you next time.